Hey, if you don't happen to know who I am, my name is Reece and I am the owner and founder of Divine. And today I am going to show you one way that you can do your prom makeup look. If you haven't seen the first one, you should definitely go check that out and figure out which of the two suits you better. The first one is a little bit more cool tone. We played with more browns. And then in this tutorial, we're gonna play with a little bit more of a warm tone. So depending on what color dress you're wearing and all those good things, you can determine which eyeshadow look is more for you. And I will apologize in advance if you hear my dogs because they decided they wanted to be featured in this tutorial in the form of sound. So we'll go ahead and just let them do their thing. But first things first, you are going to need your eyeshadow primer. This is essentially really key actually to having your prom makeup last all day long because it's not going to have your eyelids creased. With eyeshadow, the pigment's still going to be there, the same as when you put it on at, like, we'll say 3 in the afternoon to when you're done around 9 at night or even later. That is going to make sure that your eyeshadow lasts that entire time and the pigment and the color looks the exact same. So eyeshadow primer goes on first before you apply any eyeshadow, and I use our dual camouflage stamper brush to apply that. When you are applying anything creamy, you're going to want to look for a brush with kind of that waxy coating on it. And so you can see I already applied eyeshadow primer to my entire eyelid space. I kind of go underneath my brow, carve it out, and then apply it to the entire rest of my eyelid. And I'm going to take my finger and smooth it out just in case there was any creasing that had happened. All right, so now that you have the base set up for your eyeshadow, you are going to switch to your fluffy crease brush. And I'm going to swipe mine on a towel because I don't remember what color I had on here last, but I don't want that showing up when I'm about to use a white. So fluffy crease brush, and the palette that you will need at first here is going to be the Essentials palette from Divine. I'm going to take the fluffy crease brush, load up that matte white, and then we are going to pat press that from the start of our brow all the way up to the arch. Pat pressing is really important because it makes sure that that eyeshadow actually locks in with your eyeshadow primer, because if you are just sliding that color around, it's not actually going to stay. So pat press, and you're bringing that down a little bit too close to the inner corner of your eye, but not quite. I'm probably stopping about a full little brush length away with that matte white. So now that we have that applied, we are going to switch palettes. Be sure to swipe your fluffy crease brush on a towel since we're switching colors. And now we're going to be using the Tans palette from Divine. I'm gonna load up that shimmery white with my brush, tap off any excess here, and then I am pat pressing that from the arch all the way down the tail of my brow. And I'm also going to place that in the inner corner of my eye. Same thing over here, inner corner of the eye, and underneath the tail of the brow. Pat press, really making sure that color pops. Okay, now we're gonna switch back into the Essentials palette. So there's a little bit of a back and forth motion here, but I promise it'll all be worth it. So swipe your fluffy crease brush, and then we are going to go into the Essentials palette and grab this kind of like caramel-y color, I think is what I call it. I'm like, I don't know how to describe it, but it's a caramel-y color. So load that up with your brush, tap off any excess, and this we are going to feel for your brow bone. You're going to place this color slightly on top of / slightly underneath it. So I'm not gonna go and hit that white, but I'm going just underneath it. So I'm taking that first 50% of the way and I am pat pressing. And then with the remainder of what's on my brush, I'm going to gently use back and forth motions to kind of blend that close to the inner corner of my eye. You're like, holy cow, Reece, that's pigmented. Don't you worry, we will blend it soon. Place then blend is how I like to do things. So we're pat pressing that first 50% and then gently sliding that downwards and blending the rest of the way. Because if you gently do it the rest of the way, it's gonna give it that more soft and diffused look and not something super crazy. So take your brush, we're going to swipe it on a towel, and now blend out that color that we just placed. So you're gonna use back and forth, very gentle motions, very light pressure to just get this color to be more diffused. I'm not necessarily wanting to take the pigment away from that color. I am just wanting to make it more soft and subtle. And you can see the difference even when I look down in the two eyes, the one that I have blended over here and the one that I have not blended yet on my other eye. You can hear the dogs traveling downstairs. They are so fun. They really just do whatever they want. So sometimes we just gotta let them do their thing. Anybody else have dogs that are like that? Or pets that just have a mind of their own? They rule the house? Yeah, that's essentially the dogs in our family. All right, and yes, I said dogs. We have 4. I know, it's crazy. It's a long story. Okay, so now we have that color blended, and we're going to place just a little bit more on our eyelid itself. So back with the fluffy crease brush, loading up that caramel color again, we are going to pat press this just on that outer edge of the actual eyelid. So right here, I'm pat pressing it only as far out as that, like the bristles on this brush go. So I'm not taking it any further or any more, like I'm not making it any more wide than I guess the bristles are on this brush, if that makes sense. So you can see I'm just applying it to the tiniest bit of that outer corner. Now we're gonna blend it. So take that brush, swipe it on the towel, blend, 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 blend a little bit in the middle here where it's gonna meet another color. We're gonna blend the outside here, and we're going to blend on the middle as well. Okay, so now essentially what you should be left with, I don't know why I was such a tongue twister, is this little area where there is nothing applied. So one thing I do like to do, this might make it a little bit more of a cut crease look, but I'm gonna take a little bit of the eyeshadow primer I have and just kind of recarve that area to make sure this is where I want my shimmery white or gold to sit. So I'm just gonna carve that area out again a little bit more so that it's more obvious where it is. Now that we have that recarved, we're going to switch palettes again, and we are going to go back into the Tans palette. Now there are 2 different colors you could use. You can either use the white here for a more potent look, or something more subtle, you can definitely use that gold shimmer. Today I'm going to use the white because I want it to be a little bit more potent, because I have a tendency to do a little bit more bold things when I do tutorials. And now we're going to pat press that on the remainder of where that eyeshadow primer still is and there's no eyeshadow. So pat press, really make sure that color is locking in with that eyeshadow primer, that area essentially that we just reinstated. Boom, look at that. So it's super subtle, really just adds that little bit of color into the eyeshadow look, brightens it up. So if you have deeper set eyes, this is a really awesome way to kind of pop them forward a little bit more. And this is a very common look that you'll see in bridal as well. Just kind of that warm, soft look. This is actually, I think, almost the exact look I did on a bride that I had about a year ago for a wedding I did outside of my town. Because if you don't know, I actually am a licensed cosmetologist, so I'm not just making this stuff up. I know what I'm talking about when it comes to makeup. So I'm taking that fluffy crease brush. I went ahead and swiped it on my towel after I had finished applying both of the white area, and I'm just going to gently blend it into that caramel color because I don't want it to be a super harsh line. I need it to be a little bit more diffused and not so crazy. All right, and there is that look. If you wanted to add a little something extra, I will show you how to halo or create a halo in your under eye. So go ahead and grab a little bit more of that caramel, just a little bit, and we're going to bring it down out to like the first 25% of where your eye itself is. So I'm only bringing it down to about there, blending it out, making sure it's nice and diffused. And you can see that it just kind of connects everything a little bit better. So when you do wear false eyelashes on top of this look, if you're doing that for prom, if you're comfortable with that, I do recommend doing the halo because that's going to help balance out your eyes a lot better. I do not know why my lashes are clumping today. They just have a mind of their own. But this is where you could easily apply eyeliner just in a line here, stick on your false lash, and you're good to go. But that is the more warm version of a prom makeup look. So thank you for joining me. And if you want to know more about how to do your makeup, follow our tutorials. Yeah, I said that right. I don't know why, my words today are just not wording. So anyways, if you want to learn more about how to do your makeup and follow our tutorials, be sure to follow us. I will have a slide after this that has all of our social medias so you can find us there. But thanks for joining me, like I said, and I will see you in the next tutorial.